Hey, Watford fans. That was quite fun, wasn't it? It was great to be back at Vicarage Road today to watch some Championship football. And I always enjoy our matches against Queen's Park Rangers. A lot of people seem to view it as a local derby. I'm not inclined personally to think that way, but it does have a little bit of spice behind it nonetheless. And walking to Vicarage Road, when I saw the team pop up on my phone, I was quite intrigued actually to see what system and formation Paulo would implement, because so far in pre-season and at the start of this season, it's been very much either a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. That's been primarily the system we would play out of possession. But today, he opted to go for 3 centre-backs and 2 full-backs who in possession were very, very advanced. The defence was made up of Hector Cipriano, James Abankwah and Kevin Caben, with Ngakia on the right and Mark Boller on the left. Ngakia, by the way, is definitely a contender for man of the match. He was absolutely superb. That was arguably one of his best ever performances in a Watford shirt for me, and that's certainly not an understatement. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So Claudius should have to go to Jeremy Ngakia. Let's talk about the 2 goals, shall we? The 2 goals coming from Watford's new Danish number 9. The first one, for me, was really well worked. We held on to the ball for quite a period of time before this. Anyway, Kayembe picked up the ball in a pocket of space and played it in behind the Nestri Irankunda to run into, who really turned on his afterburners. Actually, he's so electric to watch. You can certainly see why Watford wanted to bring him to the club. He has that star quality and star potential about him already. So a great run in behind by Irankunda, and a simple square ball actually across the box for Luca Kjerrumgaard to run onto. A good finish by him, and I'm sure he was very delighted to open his Watford account. His second goal didn't come too much later. It must have only been 2 or 3 minutes after the first before he scored his second in this match. Imran Louza with a delightful ball over the top towards the back post. Luca rose up well and headed beyond the QPR keeper to make it 2-0 to the Orns at that point in the game. Unfortunately, I felt Watford maybe committed too many players forward at times, which meant QPR did ultimately get back into it just before half-time. Kieran Morgan with a fantastic finish into the top corner for them. Egil Selbit was, of course, getting nowhere near that one. And for me, that was quite concerning, because obviously the worst time to concede as a football team, as we know, is just before half-time. I'm sure QPR would have had words, and they certainly come out looking like the more organised team. They were very much on the front foot and looking to press. And at times I felt Watford positionally in the midfield area struggled to deal with QPR, especially at the start of that second half. But I felt Paulo identified that. He changed a few things around, and Quadway Bar for me was the key substitution, because as QPR were pushing higher and their defenders were getting more towards the halfway line, Quadway Bar is someone who can pick up the ball, run at people, and ultimately tear them to pieces. So I think that was a great change by Paulo. He identified the weakness in QPR as they were trying to, of course, get that equalising goal. And to have Quadway Bar come on as a substitute, I feel is a real asset. And for me, whilst I want to see Bar start every single match, I quite liked the dynamic, especially in the first half, with a big man in Luca Kjerrumgaard and a small man in Nestri Irankunda. It reminded me of Dini Vidra, Dini Agalo. It had that vibe about it. So to be honest, if we play this system again, I wouldn't be opposed to Quadway Bar starting on the bench, because if you want a game changer to come on and rescue you, Quadway Bar is certainly that player. And unfortunately for him, he didn't quite get his goal or assist in the second half, but he had a few shots on goal. He was very dangerous, creating loads of different chances, as we know he can. So for me, the second half, much poorer than the first. I felt our midfield was exposed at times. As I've mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of Kayembe and Sissoko in that sit-in kind of role. But I felt on the whole today, generally, it was one of their more better performances, especially Sissoko, actually, who I thought had a really positive game, especially in that more advanced role that he's tended to play of late. And happy birthday to Musa, by the way. I believe he's celebrating his 36th birthday today. So, in conclusion, on the whole, I'm pretty happy. The only negative I've got to mention is, of course, that Imran loser red card decision. Now, it happened right in front of me, and at the time, I didn't think it was a red card. So watching it in real time from the stands, I could be blind, but I felt it was probably what I would call a strong yellow card. So the QPR player in question wasn't necessarily really going anywhere. I felt loser wasn't trying to cause harm or distress. He kind of poked his foot up, trying to win the ball as it deviated mid-air. Unfortunately, from the referee's perspective, and I understand why he gave it, it looked like a studs up challenge intending to hurt that player. Now, will Watford appeal this decision? That's the big question. We know how important and instrumental Loser is to this Watford team. If it was me and allowed in the rules, which I don't know, I would say, you know what? We understand it was a dangerous challenge. However, from Watford's perspective, if possible, I'd look to maybe get the punishment reduced down, because we're ultimately, as it stands currently, going to lose Imran for up to 3 championship games, which is a massive miss. We've got Swansea next week, Southampton to come as well. So we want our best players available. So for me, I would say, you know what? It was probably a dangerous challenge and one that shouldn't have happened at that stage in the game. But on review, I would argue that Loser wouldn't want to intentionally hurt that player. So we'll have to see how it plays out. In real time, I didn't think it was a red. On reflection, watching on the replay, I can see why the referee gave it. So that's my stance on that, and hopefully we'll see that play out during the week. But if I was Watford, it's worth an appeal, isn't it? I think you have to appeal it, probably just because Loser is so instrumental to the team. So let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments section down below. Were you at Vicarage Road today? Do let me know. And thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.